us off number 10 is the Altamira cave paintings. These cave paintings are located near Santillana del Mar, which is in the northern part of Spain. Funnily enough, the paintings were discovered by accident by a hunter named Modesto Cubillas in 1868, but weren't giving much mind until 1879. These paintings shocked everyone, and I mean everyone. Why? Because it was so well preserved, specialists seriously doubted their authenticity. The paintings were done around 35,600 years ago, yet their colors and details were so vibrant it was quite suspicious. It was only at the start of the 20th century that they were accepted as authentic. These paintings are single-handedly the biggest pieces of evidence of Magdalenian culture, and most depict charcoal and ochre, let me know if that's how you say it, pictures of horses, handprints, and bisons. They were so impressive that Picasso himself said after Altamira, all is decadence. I mean, that's pretty heavy words from Picasso himself. Coming in at number 9 is the eBay Haunted painting. Great name, I know. The actual name of this painting is The Hands Resist Him, and it was painted by Bill Stoneham in 1972. The painting itself is a bit haunting, with the doll girl and the hands coming out of the mirror, and why does this little kid look like an angry 40-year-old? No one knows. Anyway, in Feb of 2000, the painting was dubbed the eBay Haunted painting because many previous owners of the painting said it was either haunted or cursed. They described instances where the characters in the paintings would move at night, so much so they'd actually leave the frame altogether. Bill, the artist of the painting himself, even said the owner of the gallery in which the painting was first displayed and the first art critic who reviewed the painting both died within a year after looking at the painting. I mean, I think if anything we should be interrogating Bill and asking him why he put so much bad juju into the painting that it ended up being cursed. Why, Bill, why? At number 8 we have Man Proposes, God Disposes. This painting was done by Edwin Landseer back in 1864, and it does not depict man proposing or God disposing despite the title. The painting, which is housed in the Royal Holloway at the University of London, depicts the Franklin expedition shipwreck and the crew being ravaged by a bunch of polar bears. The painting began gaining a reputation of being cursed in the 70s. During that time, a student committed suicide and left an incomplete exam paper behind as a suicide note, which had inside of it, "The polar bear made me do it," as in the polar bears from the painting. Other students started reporting going mad after looking at the painting or failing their exams, which, I mean, if they were using that as an excuse just for simply failing, they should have really used a better one, in my opinion. But there were so many complaints and stories that the university started covering the painting in 1984 so no one could view it while sitting their exams. Even these days, students still refuse to sit near it during exams because of the bad luck that it brings. I'm really surprised they even had paintings that nice. All I had in my exam hall were giant clocks and those really annoying ass exam invigilators who just walked like Filling our number 7 slot is The Rain Woman. The painting was done by Ukrainian artist Svetlana Telets, who said the piece took her a total of 5 hours to make, which I feel is like a record time for an artist. She'd never completed a painting that fast, but felt like her hand was being guided by someone else the entire time. The painting itself kind of looks like a creepy, narrow caricature of the woman and the woman in black, and after she finished painting it, it was sold numerous times, but the owners kept returning it almost immediately because they all reported feelings of fear, insomnia, unexplained sadness, anxiety, and the feeling that they were being watched all the time if they were near the painting. I mean, if you're an artist and you finish a great painting in 5 hours and you claim your hand wasn't even moving itself, the likelihood of that painting ending up screwed up is high, which is why I'm not surprised it screwed with every owner that it had. Now at number 6 is The Dead Mother. I love how melancholy yet straight to the point these titles are. Many of you will know the Scream painting, but it was Edward Monk's Dead Mother painting that really got people's attention. The disturbing picture depicts a little girl standing with her hands on her ears in front of her mother's dead body. The painting has been displayed at countless art exhibitions around the world, and many have claimed the girl's eyes incessantly follow them and that the child moves, blinks, and sometimes leaves the painting entirely. Others have even said they've heard the bed sheets of the mother's bed rustling and seen the mother switch positions. I mean, I don't know how much I believe in a painting moving to that degree, but the masses have spoken. Coming in at number 5 is the portrait of Bernardo de Galvez. Bernardo was a Spanish military leader who helped the American colonies during the Revolutionary War. During the early 1900s, the city of Galveston opened the Galvez Hotel to honor him, and they commissioned a giant portrait of him to go in the lobby. Soon after the Galvez Hotel opened its doors, guests started complaining the painting would make them feel extremely cold and that his eyes were following them. See, always the eyes, I told you, it's with every painting, they just follow you. The hotel started getting a reputation due to the cursed painting, and guests used to come and take pictures with the portrait. That's half the reason they even went. But all of their photos would come out blurry or with a weird mist over it. They were just never in focus no matter how still you held the camera or how much you cleaned your lens. One guest, however, actually asked the portrait if they could take a photo, and that was the first one that ever came out clear. Many believe the ghost of Bernardo haunts this painting, and it seems pretty legit to me. I mean, this story has pros and cons. I mean, cons, that painting is haunted by a ghost, and ghosts are never good, and pros, at least he's a well-mannered ghost. At number 4 is love letters. This one involves kids, and I feel like whenever it's something scary, kids just make it 100 times worse. But anyway, the Driscoll Hotel in Texas is a popular place for paranormal tourists around the world, and a lot of why they visit is to do with this painting. In 1887, the US Senator was staying at the hotel with his 4-year-old daughter Samantha Houston. While chasing a ball, she fell down the stairs and to her death, and the painting in the hotel doesn't depict her, but it depicts a girl that looks a lot like her. Many believe Samantha's spirit cursed the painting, and some people have reported feeling nauseous and dizzy after looking at the painting, and others felt like they were being lifted into the air in front of it. Some even claim the girl is trying to talk to them, and that if you look at her long enough, her expression starts changing. Guests have also seen a little girl playing with a ball throughout the hotel. I mean, I don't need to add 2 and 2 together for you guys, that's pretty self-explanatory and it's pretty backed up. Filling our number 3 slot is the Untitled painting. Zdzisław Beksiński was a Polish painter who liked painting in the style of dystopian surrealism. His paintings were mostly gothic or baroque, and he never gave any of them a title. Honestly, his paintings look like hallucinations from hell or something you'd see while lucid dreaming, but they're incredible. Weirdly enough, he burned many of his paintings in his backyard before even showing them to anyone. Beksiński's life was full of tragedy. His wife died in 1998, and a year later on Christmas Eve, his son committed suicide and he found his body. Then in 2005, he was found murdered in his apartment with 17 stab wounds because he refused to give $100 to Robert Kupek, the son of his longtime caretaker. So the man really had a troubled life till the end, and many believe if you look at his paintings for too long, you'll face your own death soon after that. Also, can we just congratulate me for actually saying his name correctly? Polish subscribers, did I say his name correctly or not? Please support me. Now at number 2 is the Stagecoach painting. Now that's not its official name, but we're just gonna roll with it here. Back in 1994, a photographer took some double exposed pictures of stagecoaches in Tombstone, Arizona. When the picture finally developed, he saw a headless man standing on a log next to the wagons that was 100% not there when he took the picture in real life. That photo ended up getting displayed all over town, and then an artist called Laura decided to recreate it as an oil painting. It was already horrific once, why do we need 2 horrific things? Why? Why can't we have nice things? Either way, many believe the ghost of the man in the photo attached himself to Laura's version and started cursing it or haunting it. The first office space it was sold to quickly gave her back the painting, claiming despite straightening it every day, every morning the painting would just be crooked. They wanted to say their business had declined because appointments and papers were going missing and going awry. I mean, blaming a painting for your business failure? A bit of a cop-out really. Laura decided to just display it in her own house, but after she did, her garage roof started leaking despite workers finding no source for the leak whatsoever. When the painting was moved out of the garage, the leak stopped, but inside the house things started breaking and going missing. Now, I'm not saying it was the headless man in the photo, but I'm not saying that. And finally, at number 1 is The Crying Boy. This one was painted by Giovanni Bragolin at the end of World War II when he started painting portraits of Italian orphans crying. The prints in his collection became very popular in England, but by the 80s things took a really grim turn. Many portrait owners began reporting that they thought their prints were cursed. Popular UK newspaper The Sun reported that in over 50 house fires, the only thing left unscathed in every house were the Crying Boy prints. In one of the fires, the firefighters actually found a print face down on the floor, still in its frame, completely untouched by the fire that destroyed the rest of the house. A variety of psychics claim the curses from all the hopelessness and misery the orphans felt, that they continue to haunt the paintings even after they died. And honestly, I believe that. That seems like a pretty viable explanation. How else would they survive so many fires? I don't understand. I mean, if your frame is wooden, shouldn't that burn? I don't know. I have questions.
Starting off this list in our number 10 spot, we have this hunting cave painting. This painting comes to us from an astonishing 44,000 years ago and was found on the wall of a cave on an Indonesian island. Researchers were able to date this painting that far back due to the fact that the cave it was found in is still living, which means that rock formations have been growing over the painting, and by being able to date those, they know that it is at least 43,900 years old, but it could potentially be even older. The painting features what looks like a hunting scene with 4 wild pigs, some small buffalo, and a group of really small hunters with spears. The strange thing about these hunters, other than their size, is the fact that they're all human and animal hybrids. They all have elongated faces like an animal snout, and a lot of them have tails. There's even one tiny human thing that has a beak. We don't really know why they depicted the hunters this way or why the animals are so much larger than them. There also were no other usual signs of human life found in the cave, such as bones or hunting tools. This cave may have acted as some sort of special or sacred spot for them, but I can't imagine a sacred spot that only holds a strange hunting painting. It definitely sounds a little creepy to me.
In our number 9 spot today, we have lizard hands. In 2002, in a cave discovered in the western deserts of Egypt, researchers found tons of paintings on the walls thought to be dated back at least 8,000 years, if not even longer. The paintings feature animals, humans, and sometimes headless creatures, which led to the cave being nicknamed the Cave of the Beasts. But there are also hundreds of handprints outlined, which are both very cool and very eerie. The most unusual of the handprints, however, are the 13 that are extremely tiny. This would be endearing and very cute, but what was once thought of as tiny little baby hands are actually not even human at all. An anthropologist realized this in 2006 when she discovered that they were much too small and the fingers were much too long. It is thought that these handprints may belong to lizards or perhaps baby crocodiles, but we still aren't really sure. It is definitely interesting and kind of fascinating to see all of these handprints on the walls of the cave, but it definitely carries a mystery that we may never know the answers to. In our number 8 spot today, we have the MAGURA cave. This is a cave that is actually one of the largest in Bulgaria, and it is located in the northwest area of the country. This cave is filled with prehistoric paintings that date back somewhere between 8,000 and 4,000 years ago. Through the research into this cave, around 700 drawings have been found on the walls, and they depict a wide variety of scenes. These paintings were created using bat excrement. I mean, you're in a cave, you gotta make do with the resources you have. It's not like they could just walk over to Michael's and grab a brand new paint set. The paintings mostly depict different hunting scenes as well as scenes of people dancing and celebrating. Honestly, I just wish for one day that I could understand the mind of an early human and understand what these paintings were meant to symbolize. Maybe it was meant to show something and maybe they just liked art. Who knows for sure. In our number 7 spot today, we have the Holy Ghost. The Holy Ghost is a painting that comes all the way from at least 7,000 years ago. The painting is the main part of a mural that is located in Utah's Horseshoe Canyon. I know, it's not exactly a cave, but it's close, and it's a cool ancient painting. The entire mural is huge, as it is 300 feet long and features around 80 figures, and it was likely painted by ancient nomads. The techniques they used to create this image was by filling their mouths with red ochre tinted paint and then spraying it out onto the sandstone. This is all super cool to learn about, but here's the kind of creepy thing. No one knows why these paintings were created or what they represent. It is possible that maybe they just like to paint, but it is kind of crazy to think about what this figure could have meant to them. Was it part of a legend? Was it something they saw in real life? Was it a prediction of things to come? This is just one of those mysteries that unfortunately is buried with the people of the past, and we are just left to speculate exactly what this could be about. In our number 6 spot today, we have the Brazil caves. This is an interesting cave painting because of the fact that it is widely debated when exactly it was created. The Serra de Capivara National Park is located in eastern Brazil, and it is the home to a bunch of different rock shelters that are decorated with incredible and elaborate cave paintings. This area includes scenes of rituals, hunting, trees, and animals, and some scientists believe that the oldest of the paintings dates back to at least 25,000 years ago. There are others who debate this because that would go against what we currently believe is the date of human settlement in the Americas, but hey, we weren't there, so Who knows? In our number 5 spot today we have the vandalized cave painting. This painting is the oldest known painting in India, and it was found on the walls and ceiling of the Sittanavasal cave. It was originally believed that this painting was first created in the 1st century BCE. The paintings depict things like human figures, fish, elephants, birds, and different floral patterns. It is said that another artist ended up drawing over the original, which is an incredible shame and truly just rude. These paintings have been severely vandalized, and a lot of the areas are in quite bad shape. There's something about things that are this old that makes me feel like they should just not be messed with at all. Not only because it's rude, but also because you just never know what kind of things they may hold. In our number 4 spot today we have the Droughts. Ancient drawings and writings were found covering the walls of the Dayu cave, which is located in central China, and a lot of them detail different droughts and such that were experienced during the time of their writing. According to these drawings, people would come to the cave for either water or to pray for rain in times of drought. The writings reveal some of the horrors that the people of the time experienced while going through these periods of drought, including severe starvation, social instability, and conflict between government and citizens. While these cave writings show us a different time in history, difficult time in history, researchers say that these stalagmites are formed by dripping water and they form rings, sort of like how trees do, and these rings can give us insights into different things. Based on the patterns of these rings, scientists were able to corroborate the things that the cave writings were saying, but they were also able to make a grim prediction for the future, which is unfortunately that this region may again see one of these catastrophic droughts, this time in the late 2030s. In our number 3 spot today we have Daydreaming. The paintings at the Lascaux caves are perhaps some of the most famous ancient cave paintings of all time. They date back to some 17,000 years ago, and a lot of the art seen on the walls of the cave is art that depicts animals. About 900 of them, with 605 being pretty identifiable. There are cattle, bison, some wild cats, bears, birds, but there's one weird thing. There's no reindeer, and there were definitely reindeer in the area at the time, and there's evidence that reindeer meat was used for food, so why didn't they draw any? Well, our best theory as to why is that perhaps these drawings and paintings are depicting animals that the humans at the time were daydreaming of. The animals that were too fast or too strong, or that they didn't have effective weapons for. The drawings showing what life could be like if only these humans had more. Does that sound familiar to any of us? Because I think it definitely should. In our number 2 spot today we have Astronomy Masters. This is a point that doesn't discuss just one cave painting in particular, but it's something that has been seen throughout many that have been discovered, and even in some of the oldest ever found. What I'm talking about is the early humans and their complex understanding of astronomy. A common theme among ancient cave paintings is the depiction of animals, but what was previously thought of as just a drawing is now being realized that instead of just animal symbols, they may actually be used to represent star constellations in the night sky, and the paintings of them may be used to represent dates or mark events such as comet strikes. I mean, for a second, imagine being an early human having no concept of science and looking at the night sky with no light pollution. It totally makes sense why they would try and keep track of these things, not to mention how terrifying would a comet or meteor be when you have no idea what they are. Researchers have been able to find thousands of sites and symbols that span through thousands of years that seem to be using the same sophisticated level of astronomy. It is likely that this understanding is exactly why human migration and navigation of the open seas was possible. Their brilliance truly was crucial to how we evolved as humans. In our number 1 spot today we have Lascaux. Lascaux is a complex of caves and different rock shelters that are located in northwestern Somalia. These caves and rock shelters contain some of the earliest known art in the Horn of Africa, and really just on the continent in general, which is quite the feat considering the rich history of humans in Africa. I mean, it's where we evolved into humans after all. These prehistoric cave paintings show cows in ceremonial robes accompanied by humans. They show domesticated dogs and even a giraffe, which I personally love. These paintings are actually very well preserved, which is fantastic, and they retain clear outlines and vibrant colors, which really gives us a clearer look into the lives of the people who created them.
Kicking off the list at number 10, the creation of Adam. We'll start this list off with one of the most famous paintings of sculptor and artist Michelangelo. The creation of Adam. You've seen it at one point or another, or you've seen it referenced at one point or another. It was painted back in 1508. The poster of E.T. was inspired by this painting. With little hands, little phone home. Memes have been on a whole new level thanks to Michelangelo in this piece. But what's the dark background here exactly? Perhaps the plethora of naked folks in the sky, all bunched up together? Not exactly. It was known that back in the 1500s, Michelangelo used to dissect bodies, all in the name of art. Of course, why not? He would create anatomic artwork, that's why his creation of Adam kind of looks like he's crawling out of an organ. To be honest, I never noticed it at first. Now, I can't unsee it. That's definitely the inside of a body. The Sistine Chapel has many dark pieces of art. I may or may not mention another.
Okay, moving on to number 9 now, we have The Last Supper by Leonardo da Vinci. It was painted in the final years of the 15th century by the legendary da Vinci after he was commissioned to paint a work on the wall of the Santa Maria del Grazie church in Milan. The scene depicts the last meal between Jesus and his 12 disciples as he tells them he knows one of them will betray him, leading to his crucifixion. Now, spoiler alert, it's Judas. Yeah, I'm sorry if anyone hadn't finished the Bible yet. Now, over the past 500 years since then, it has been loved, praised, damaged by accident, damaged on purpose, repaired properly, and then repaired badly. Even the church that housed it was bombed during World War II. Rough. Despite this, The Last Supper survived, and if you want to see how embedded it has become in popular culture, check out all the TV shows that have done a Last Supper picture. It goes on and on and on. Just what Da Vinci had hoped for. Next up at number 8, we have The Girl with the Pearl Earring by Johannes Vermeer. Now, I'd love to tell you exactly what year this was painted, but the experts aren't sure. Somewhere around 1665 though, but they don't know who commissioned it. And that kind of mystery is actually what has driven a lot of the fascination with this painting over the years. Why is this 17th century European girl wearing exotic clothing and a Turkish turban? Is it Johannes' daughter? And as the title might suggest, what is the deal with that pearl earring that seems to draw people's eyes to it so much? These questions have led to books based on the painting and even a movie starring Scarlett Johansson. Wait a minute, Johansson Vermeer and Scarlett Johansson. Conspiracy theory, huh? Probably not at all. Alright, coming in at the number 7 spot now, we're gonna jump forward a few hundred years for The Son of Man by René Magritte. Painted in 1964, it's become one of the most iconic paintings of the late 20th century. It's actually a self-portrait where René wanted to explore the concept of humans wanting to see something that's hidden. Well, this is what he actually looks like if you really want to know what's behind the apple, but that's not the point. The point is, if you want to get really deep, you could say this painting shows why people love all the art we see in this video. It's about uncovering the hidden meanings, feelings, and emotions in our lives. Maybe I should be an art critic. Or maybe I should just get on with the video and move on to our number 6, and we've got The Persistence of Memory by Salvador Dali. From surreal to surrealer now, Salvador Dali is well known for his mind and physics bending paintings, and this is perhaps the best example of it. Painted in 1931, it pretty much sums up what Dali and the whole surrealist movement were all about, breaking down our notions of what is fixed or changing, real or not, hard or soft, and for most of us, time seems like probably the most fixed thing in existence, always marching in one direction, never changing. Yet here Dali shows it melting in the hot sun like cheese. Dali would go on to create many more paintings over the years to come, but this was the one that actually made him famous at just 28 years old. It was the first the world really knew of him, and it helped set the tone for all the surreal paintings to come. Okay, coming in number 5 now, we have The Starry Night by Vincent van Gogh, by Vincent van Gogh, by Vincent van Goghy, and Vincent van Gogha. I feel like there's a million pronunciations out there, so yeah, just take your pick. Now, sometimes people overuse the word iconic a little bit too much, but I think this painting might deserve that word. Painted in June 1889 in France, it's thought to be one of the best, if not the best work done by the Dutch painter. Vincent painted it from the window of an insane asylum he had checked himself into the month before, and it was from this tortured artist that such an amazing piece came from. The focus is on the star-filled sky above the sleepy village below, but while that concept had been done before and since, nobody depicted it in quite the way Vincent did. Instead of the stars and the landscape being static, critics say the swirling nature of the painting made it come alive on the canvas. As with others on this list, it's since entered mainstream culture and become very famous. I even went to a Halloween party once with my girlfriend as Vincent and The Starry Night. She did all the painting, I'm terrible at painting. And moving on to number 4 now, we have American Gothic by Grant Wood. American Gothic is an American classic. Painted during the Great Depression in 1930, it came to be known as a symbol of American spirit and resistance. That no matter how tough things are, Americans will stay steadfast. Now, although the pair in this painting look like they're from the colonial era, they're actually based on real life models. Grant modeled the woman on his sister and the man on his dentist. Here they are standing with the actual painting. But that was pretty trippy. The original inspiration came from Grant seeing a Gothic window on what he thought was such a flimsy looking house in Iowa. And you can actually even visit that very house today and get a picture outside that house. Just make sure you look bloody miserable. Next up at number 3 now, we have Guernica by Pablo Picasso. This 1937 painting is perhaps the most well-known anti-war painting of all time. It depicts the bombing of Guernica that happened that year, where a reported 1,654 Basque civilians, mainly women and children, were killed during the Spanish Civil War when the Spanish fascists requested that the Nazis bomb the town. For every person to see this painting, there has been a different interpretation of it, but one thing that people tend to agree on is how it shows the absolute brutality of war. The broken up images, disembodied faces, flailing limbs and colourless canvas really show how surrealism can reflect the harsh realities of the world, even the horrors of bombs and wars. Guernica helped bring worldwide attention to that war and served as a reminder for every war to come, even the Second World War that will begin just 2 years later. Coming in now at number 2, we have The Creation of Adam by Michelangelo. Now, perhaps part of this painting is actually more famous than the painting itself. This part, the oh so close touching moment between God and humanity, is the central focus of this piece on the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel. It was painted in about 1512 and is said to reflect the line in the Bible referring to God creating Adam and subsequently humanity itself. Now, we're supposed to be seeing the moment before God touches humanity and brings it into existence. It's one of a number of paintings like this on the Sistine Chapel ceiling that took some 4 years to finish. A lot of the pictures on our list have been parodied in modern times, but perhaps The Creation of Adam might be the number 1 for that. But it's not the number 1 on our list, because that's what we've reached now, and that spot has to go to the one, the only Mona Lisa by Leonardo da Vinci. It was once described as the best known, the most visited, the most written about, the most sung about, and the most parodied work of art in the world. It was painted sometime between 1503 and 1506, and if you strip away all the fame behind it, it seems quite simple. A woman in front of a landscape background, but as with most art, there are layers to it. If you talk to an art expert, they will rave about how technically brilliant each brushstroke is and the harmony in the picture, but for the average person, like me or you, they are drawn to the questions behind it. Who is she, and why is she smiling? Well, they think it's Lisa del Giasondo, daughter of a wealthy silk merchant who commissioned Da Vinci to paint a piece for their new home. Not a bad painting for a new home, I'd take that. Well, little did he know it would eventually come to be the most famous painting probably of all time, to the point where you probably see more parodies of this painting than the actual painting itself. Honestly, I could do a whole video on just that one painting. 30 seconds really doesn't do it justice, and the same goes for all the paintings actually on this list.
Starting off this list, in our number 10 spot, we have the Hunting Cave painting. This painting comes to us from an astonishing 44,000 years ago and was found on the wall of a cave on an Indonesian island. Researchers were able to date this painting that far back due to the fact that the cave it was found in is still a living cave, which means that rock formations have been growing over the painting, and by being able to date those, they know it is at least 43,900 years old, but it could potentially be even older. The painting features what looks like a hunting scene with 4 wild pigs, some small buffalo, and a group of really small hunters with spears. The strange thing about these hunters, other than their size, is the fact that they're all human and animal hybrids. They all have elongated faces like an animal's snout, and a lot of them have tails. There is even one tiny human thing that has a beak. We don't really know why they depicted the hunters this way or why the animals are so much larger than them. There also were no other usual signs of human life found in the cave, such as bones or hunting tools, so this cave may have acted as some sort of special or sacred spot for them, and while it definitely holds a lot of secrets, we may never get the chance to know most of them.
Coming in at number 9, one are the aliens. These pictographs were found in the Wonnamurra Gorge in Australia. Again, my apologies if I said that wrong. These paintings date back to approximately 3000 BC and they depict the Aboriginal Wanjinas, I hope I said that right as well, I probably didn't, I'm sorry, which is a type of religious deity or supreme spirit that were the creators of land and people. But the way they've depicted them is just super weird. They literally look like white versions of the alien emojis on our phones. White faces with no mouth and large black holes for eyes, and they also have this sort of halo around them. The other black figures drawn amongst them look like what can only be described as closely resembling dementors from Harry Potter. Some interpretations of these paintings say that extraterrestrial beings visited Earth tens of thousands of years ago and had direct contact with these people. Some Aboriginals believe that they even played a role in creation, which could explain why they drew the Wanjinas looking like aliens. At number 8 we have the Chauvet Cave. This one is located in the south of France and only really gained notoriety in 1994 after 3 speleologists discovered its walls were covered in Paleolithic artwork and that it also contained the fossilized remains of various animals, many of which had become extinct by then. So that's a lot of useful scientific and historical knowledge in that cave already, and we haven't even specifically talked about the art yet. The cave shocked people for many reasons. It was ridiculously large, and the quantity and quality of the artwork found was quote unquote spectacular. It's literally been named a cave that has some of the best preserved figurative cave paintings in the world, which is insane since most of the art there is 30 to 32,000 years old. The paintings had animals in there that had never appeared in previous Ice Age paintings, as well as many other animals that had. Surprisingly, it had no paintings of full human figures, just one figure that seemed to be a vulva attached to an unfinished pair of legs. As of now, it's one of the most significant prehistoric art sites on Earth and is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Filling our number 7 slot is Las Gil, Las Gil, Las Gol. There were so many types of pronunciations, I really don't know which one's right. Please don't slate me in the comments. These are the cave formations found in the rural parts of Hargeisa in Somaliland. Even though the cave was known to locals of that area for ages, the caves only gained international attention in 2002 when an archaeological survey was undertaken by French researchers and they were shocked to find this cave undocumented. The cave contains very vivid paintings which are some of the earliest known cave paintings in the Horn of Africa. The rock art was created between 9000 and 3000 BC and it's so well preserved till this day because of the granite overhangs. The artwork features cattle in ceremonial robes with humans, and the necks of the cattle are embellished with plastron, which is basically the flat part of a turtle shell. I didn't know that either, but now you do as well. And they also include other animals like dogs and giraffes. The colors on these paintings are so vivid, I would believe if someone told me they literally painted them a month ago rather than thousands of years ago. Now at number 6 are the psychedelics. Tassili Najjar is a national park located in southeast Algeria. And of course, these caves also became part of UNESCO's World Heritage Sites list in 1982. Most of the art in there dates back 12,000 years and there are more engravings than there are paintings. There are 15,000 engravings in the cave and they consist of mostly large animals like crocodiles and antelopes, and it even has humans dancing and hunting. But they also include something called fungoid rock art. Back in 1989, psychedelics researcher Giorgio Samarini claimed that the paintings that look like fungoids were proof that people inhabiting the Sahara Desert had taken psychedelics. There's one bit of artwork that depicts various masked figures in a line dressed as dancers surrounded by festoons. And each dancer has a mushroom-like object in their hand with lines coming out of the mushroom and connecting to the dancer's head. Now it's obviously open to interpretation on what the picture means, but I think you can see why Giorgio took away from it what he did. And believe it or not, psychedelics aside, the caves also house alien depictions. Flying saucer-like figures in the sky and people that look like humans but have one eye and just have very alien-like features. The pictures are quite creepy, I'm not gonna lie, but these caves seem to just have it all. Coming in at number 5 is the prehistoric Sistine Chapel. Yes, I'm not kidding you, that's what some people have nicknamed the Lascaux Caves. Located in the southwestern part of France, there are a lot of caves in France on this list, I just realized. The caves have in them more than 600 paintings, mostly of big mammals in the area, humans and abstract signs. The art inside the cave is meticulously split into those 3 categories. The paintings were the product of a huge combined effort spanning many generations. The earliest painting was done 17,000 years ago. However, there's one painting called the Crossed Bison that grabbed everyone's attention. position. The crossed hind legs of the animal create the illusion that one bison is closer to the viewer than the other. The fact that Paleolithic cave painters had that skill and primitive form of perspective is evidence that they were advanced for their time. And funnily enough, the entrance of the cave was found by an 18-year-old walking his dog, and his dog fell into a hole which ended up being the tunnel. The boy came back with 3 friends thinking the tunnel was an entrance into the Lusco Manor, but then they found the paintings. By 1995, the cave had 1,200 daily visitors, but that created a preservation problem because lichens and crystals began to develop, and on top of that they started having a huge fungus problem as well, so they've convened many times to see how they can preserve the cave. At number 4 are the X-ray paintings. The Kakadu National Park is a protected area in the northern part of Australia, and the place is massive. I'm talking the size of the country Slovenia massive. It's also home to one of the Earth's biggest concentrations of rock artwork. Some are nearly 20,000 years old, and they provide an insight into Aboriginal life like nothing else has before. The park has 2 main galleries, Burunkai and Uber. I'm sorry if I pronounced those wrong, I know I did, I'm sorry. For these people, the act of painting was more important than the painting itself, and so they cover older paintings with the newer ones. The art shows the objects they use every day, the things they do, and the animals they hunt. Some paintings can only be done by the person with the right knowledge, so someone who had no magic knowledge could not do a sorcery painting, for example. They would paint animals in order to place them in touch with the spirit of that animal, which would hopefully ensure them a successful hunt. But the painters didn't just draw the animals, they drew their organs and their bones as well, which is the first time discoverers had found depictions like that, and hence they were called X-ray paintings. Filling our number 3 slot are the underwater paintings. This one's about the Koski Cave located near Marseille, France. The cave was discovered by a man named Henry Koski back in 1985, but the public only found out about it 6 years later when 3 divers actually got lost and died in the cave. But if you wanted to find the cave today, you would just have to go through a 175-meter long tunnel, which is all well and good, except the entrance to that is 37 meters under sea level. That puts a bit of a spanner in the works, I think. Sadly, 4/5 of the cave's art was permanently submerged underwater and hence destroyed, but 150 pieces of cave art are still intact. Art like hand stencils date back to 27,000 years BP, and the newer art of different animals and signs dates back to 19,000 years BP. People were stunned at the fact the art was A, underwater, and B, it was partially intact. In circumstances like that, the art would usually be lost, so it was miraculous that it hadn't been, and that's why it deserves the number 3 slot, I think. You guys can disagree. Now at number 2 are the MAGURA cave paintings. This cave is located in the northwest region of Bulgaria. All the paintings were done from bat poo and are done on stone. This is probably the most extensive series of cave paintings ever found, and they actually cover a range of epochs. The Neolithic, some other ones that I can't pronounce so I'm not gonna try, and even the start of the early Bronze Age. There are more than 700 drawings in the cave, and they fall into 4 groups: zoomorphic, symbolic, anthropomorphic, and geometric figures. The figures are mostly stick figures and not extremely detailed, but it's very easy to grasp what they're trying to depict. The cave was formed nearly 15 million years ago, and you'd have to walk a good 1.6 miles to cover the whole thing. It has one main gallery that includes 6 halls, and the largest one being the Arc Hall that's 69 feet high and 420 feet long. This cave is filled with quote-unquote art and is bigger than nearly all art galleries in the world. No wonder people were shook, I would be too. And finally, at number 1 is the Cave of Hands, also known as Cueva de las Manos. These caves are located in Argentina and are insanely famous for the numerous hands painted inside the caves. The art dates back to 13,000 to 9,000 years ago, and obviously a lot of different groups of people occupied the caves during that time. I mean, some of the earliest artwork has been carbon dated to 7,300 BC. All the hands inside the cave are stenciled, and most of them are left hands, indicating that the people probably used their right hand to hold the spraying pipe, or they sprayed the back of their right hand with their left. It made sense, trust me. Either way, the cave was filled with hands. There was also artwork of full human beings, geometric shapes, hunting scenes, etc. They used mineral pigments to make the images, like iron oxides to get the reds and purples, manganese oxide to make black, and so on. The site became a UNESCO World Heritage Site back in 1999, and people were glad. It's not every day you stumble upon a cave that's filled with sprayed hands dating to 7,300 BC. history. Just thinking about how much history took place in that cave and all the different people those hands could have belonged to and what their lives would have been like, I mean, it just blows my mind, it really does. Starting us off with number 10 is The Anguished Man. Now the painter of this piece is unknown, but his painting is meant to be one of the most cursed paintings in the world. And after hearing how the painting came to be, you'll probably agree with that statement. Now although the artist is unknown, his story isn't. It's said that he mixed his own blood into the painting and soon after finishing it he committed suicide. Somehow the painting got into the possession of Sean Robinson's grandmother, who stowed it away claiming it was evil. When she died and Sean inherited it, he soon backed her statement. After he hung up the painting in his bedroom, his whole family started hearing crying and whispering late at night and seeing the appearance of a shadowy figure. Now I'm assuming the crying or whispering or the figure of the artist himself wallowing in his sorrow for eternity. I don't know, I couldn't tell you the backstory even if I wanted to, but that's just my guess.
This one might not exactly be old enough to be considered ancient, but this is my list and I definitely believe this one still belongs. The Ambassadors by Hans Holbein the Younger was created in 1533, and at first glance at it, it just seems like a nice painting of two men, two ambassadors, but that is not the case. This painting is full of imagery that has had professionals debating for years what it really is all about. The debated figures include the two globes, one being terrestrial and one being celestial. There's a bunch of different measuring devices, two of which are sundials, the variation of textiles, the open religious text, or the difference in clothing between the two ambassadors. This all might seem arbitrary, but the details of course must have been intentional. But what does it all mean? It is believed that this painting may be trying to convey religious strife or the interruption of religious harmony, but we truly aren't sure. The most notable feature of this painting, however, is the distorted skull that is featured at the bottom middle of the painting. The anamorphic skull is meant to be a visual puzzle as it requires a different perspective to clearly see, and no one is really sure why Hans gave this skull such a prominent place in the painting. One theory, however, is that this painting may be intended to show three levels. The heavens, which is shown by the astrolabe, then the earthly world, which is represented by the text and the instruments, and then the final being the underworld represented by the skull. It is possible that Hans may have just wanted to remind us all of our mortality. In our number 8 spot today, we have the giants in Egyptian paintings. This one is less of a specific painting and more so just a feature that is seen in a lot of ancient Egyptian paintings. There's a common theme of giants in these. This may have been a representation of people being of a higher status or being the more important figure in the painting, but many believe that this may be a sign that there were really giants in ancient Egypt. Considering how strange the pyramids are to us and how little we really know about their construction, how can we say for sure that there weren't giants? If there were, what happened to them? This is one that really has me stumped. What do you guys think? Let me know below in the comments if you think this is a case of the person being depicted as a giant because of their social status, or do you think it's possible that giants really did exist at one point? In our number 7 spot today, we have Medusa. Another one of the more recent paintings on today's list is Medusa by Caravaggio. We all know the story of Medusa, the woman with snakes for hair that when you look at you turn to stone, and this is a painting that really captures her essence perfectly, as well as capturing a horrific moment. This painting was meant to be a depiction of the defeat of Medusa. The legend goes that Perseus, who is the son of Zeus and Danae, was given a shield by Athena. He took this shield to battle Medusa and managed to outsmart her by letting her catch a glimpse of her own reflection in the shield. She then turned herself to stone, and this is when he took his sword and beheaded her. That is the moment this painting is portraying, the moment that Medusa was beheaded. I'm not sure if it really gets more cursed than that. This painting was created by Caravaggio in 1597, and it was actually his second of the kind, which is honestly kind of creepy. In our number 6 spot today, we have Hell. I'm not necessarily sure if I have to explain this one because the name really does speak for itself. This painting by Hans Memling was created in 1485 and it truly is terrifying. This is one of 3 double-sided panels that were created and it features a banner that reads, "There is no redemption in hell." This painting features some sort of devil creature with fangs and bat-like wings and features, and it has another entire face on its belly. Its hands and feet are claw-like and it is depicted stepping or dancing on the backs of people who are in the mouth of some sort of a beast, of course engulfed in flames. This whole painting is absolutely absolutely terrifying, especially for those who believe in the existence of hell. It would be extremely interesting to know exactly where the inspirations for this piece came from, as it certainly is unlike anything I have ever seen before. In our number 5 spot today, we have the supernatural being. This painting was made by Katsushika Hakusai, and it belongs to the Japanese genre of art that is about supernatural beings which are painted on wood blocks. The painting depicts a skeletal man who truly is straight out of a nightmare. The story behind this one is that it apparently is about an actor who was killed. The legend states that he actually ended up coming back to life like a zombie, and that is what this painting is about. Well, I guess it's more like a zombie ghost thing, as he comes back to haunt his wife and the new man she has fallen in love with. This legend is already quite terrifying, and the artist found a way to really bring that horror to life. His depiction of the sunken eyes and the horrifying grin with the clear representation of the thin skin and those spindly little fingers really make this painting what it is, and that is a work of sheer terrifying art. In our number 4 spot today, we have the UFO. This painting comes from an unknown source from around 1350, and it is depicting the crucifixion of Jesus Christ surrounded by a crowd of people with some extra special visitors. These visitors seem to be of the extraterrestrial variety. On either side of Jesus in the painting, there appears to be some sort of UFO that contains strange-looking humans? It is very obvious that any sort of flying object during these times just did not exist, so the fact that it's one we as humans have never seen before is all the more interesting. Many people speculate that it is possible that these creatures may have been deities or perhaps angels, but there were no wings or halos or any other sign of angelic or divine features. It is possible that maybe humans have always been obsessed with the idea of alien life, and maybe the belief in UFO stems all the way back to them, but maybe this is a sign that aliens did visit Earth at some point long ago. Either way, it certainly is quite suspicious and a little bit creepy. In our number 3 spot today, we have the lizard hands. In 2002, in a cave discovered in the western deserts of Egypt, researchers found a ton of paintings on the walls, thought to be dated back at least 8,000 years, if not longer. The paintings featured animals, humans, and sometimes headless creatures, which led to the cave being nicknamed the Cave of the Beasts, but there are also hundreds of handprints outlined, which are both very cool and very eerie. The most unusual part of the handprints, however, are the 13 that are extremely tiny. This would be endearing and very cute, but what was once thought of as little tiny baby hands are actually not even human at all. An anthropologist realized this in 2006 when she saw that they were much too small and that the fingers were much too long. It is thought that these handprints may belong to lizards or perhaps baby crocodiles, but we still aren't really sure. It is definitely interesting and kind of fascinating to see all these handprints on the walls of the cave, but it definitely carries a mystery that we may never know the answers to. In our number 2 spot today, we have the Tomb of Roaring. In 2006, a grave robber who had been caught unveiled a secret in exchange for some leniency in his sentence. This secret is what unearthed this next cursed painting. He helped provide information that led to the unearthing of the Tomb of Roaring, which is one of the oldest tombs ever found in Europe. Inside the tomb were things like a sword, Greek vases, metal meat roasting spits, and a painting. This painting is one of the oldest in Europe, and it is believed to have belonged to a warrior prince. The painting features what was originally thought to be lions, but it is now believed that they are probably deer or horses. I'm not sure about you guys, but unearthing a secret tomb with information given to you by a grave robber seems like a perfect recipe for something cursed, and I'm not sure if we should have opened that thing. Who knows what it could have unleashed on the world. In our number 1 spot today, we have the Holy Ghost. The Holy Ghost is a painting that comes all the way from at least 7,000 years ago. This painting is the main part of a mural that is located in Utah's Horseshoe Canyon. The entire mural is huge, as it is 300 feet long and features around 80 figures, and it was likely painted by ancient nomads. The technique used to create this image was by filling their mouths with red ochre-tinted paint and spraying it out onto the sandstone. The paint was a mix of their blood and clay that was binded together by urine. This is all super cool and kind of gross, but here's the creepy thing. No one knows why these paintings were created or what they represent. Maybe they just like to paint, but it is kind of crazy to think about what this figure could have meant to them. Was it part of a legend? Was it something they saw in real life? This is just one of those mysteries that unfortunately is buried with the people of the past, and we are just left to speculate exactly what this could be about.
Coming in at number 10, we have Scream by Edvard Munch. Painted in 1893, it's one of the most recognizable images to this day. Scholars have spent over 100 years debating who or what the screamer is, but Edvard himself said it was simply a scream he felt passing through nature. Either way, words aren't really needed to explain the horror in this figure's face, something every human can relate to. Perhaps that's why it has entered pop culture over the years and been parodied time and time again.
Number 9. Bill Clinton. We've all heard that clip downloading music growing up. You know, I did not have sexual relations with that woman. Like, bro, I'm trying to listen to Christmas music. What is this? Whose voice is this? What did I download? Why is this computer not working anymore? I'm so grounded. Back in 2006, former US President Bill Clinton showed off this beautiful portrait of himself done by the incredible artist John Nelson Shanks. As far as portraits go, this is beautiful, the art is beautiful and all that, but that pose, I mean, I don't know, something's off about it. His stance is like, let me redo it. Like, he just looks uncomfortable, you know? He doesn't look ready yet. Well, that's because the shadow on the left side of the portrait, it's meant to represent Monica Lewinsky. I'm not even lying to you. I knew it. I felt like there was some darkness in here. I'm like, oh, something's off here. There's some shady history around. Pun intended. The artist himself admitted that this was indeed the case. He used the dress shape as symbolism to the scandal while he was creating the artwork. I thought the dark background here was Bill's pants, but well, I was wrong. That's why we're here. We like to educate. Number 8. The Madonna with Saint Giovanni. For this next one, we'll be taking a look at a painting from the 15th century by artist Domenico Ghirlandaio. This painting is currently in the Hall of Hercules in Palazzo Vecchio in Florence. Also, if I'm saying any of these names wrong, you can tell me. It's probably gonna be a lot of them. I'm trying. The painting shows the Virgin Mary, infant Jesus, of course, with a six-pack for some reason. And over her right shoulder, we can see this object floating in the sky. Let's take a closer look at that, shall we? What is that? Is that a drone? A magnetic balloon? A weather balloon? Those weren't around then. What's even more interesting is that a man is looking up at the sky at this object. He's even covering his eyes, shielding the sun to try and get a better look. Man's going blind to try and see what's hovering above him. It's always a good sign as well when your dog is barking at something next to you in the sky. Art historians believe that the object is an angel resembling a cloud, while others believe that it's a clear sign of alien visitors. I'm others. I'm like, oh, E.T., the whole thing, this is starting to make more sense now. What do you guys think? Was this the 15th century version of drawing the sun at the top corner of your painting? Or did this mystery artist just document UFO footage with his own brush? Number 7. Cafe Terrace at Night. Upon first glance, you can tell this is a piece done by the fabulous Vincent van Gogh. The blue tones, the streaks. I did the Van Gogh experience downtown Toronto and it was mesmerizing, honestly. The floor is moving, I was like falling into the walls and everything, it was great. While his 1888 oil painting, Cafe Terrace at Night, looks like a quiet late night summer dream, it's actually pretty dark when you start looking closely. I'm not a Van Gogh expert by any means, but Jared Baxter, he is. Back in 2015, Jared brought forth this idea that Cafe Terrace at Night was really Van Gogh's version of The Last Supper. This figure in the center with long hair and 12 surrounding individuals, one of which is slipping into darkness. It checks out. He also says there are hidden crucifixes in this painting. I knew there was something spiritual about that Van Gogh exhibit. I knew it all around me. I'm like, is that a floating crucifix? Where'd it go? It's gone. Number 6, Medusa. Another one of the most recent paintings on today's list is Medusa by Caravaggio. It was done back in 1597. Crazy that that's a recent painting. That's so long ago in my head. And this photo, I'll admit right off the bat, is a little bit haunting. It's a little gory, it's a little graphic. But where does this idea come from? What compels a person to spend this long on a scary painting? The entire time I'd be like, We all know the story of Medusa, the woman with, snakes for hair. When you look at them, you turn to stone and then you're stuck forever and it's horrible. Well, this is a painting that really captures her essence, her beauty, really just, her complexion is so nice, her snake complexion. The snakes really add to the moment, without taking away. The blood oozing out of her neck also draws the eye. It's a nice accent. This painting was meant to be a depiction of the defeat of Medusa, obviously. The legend goes that Perseus, who is the son of Zeus and Danae, was given a shield by Athena. He took said shield to battle Medusa, and he managed to outsmart her by letting her catch a glimpse of her own reflection in that shield. Bam! You played yourself. Yeah, she turned herself into stone, and then this is when he took his sword out and, you can probably fill the rest in. You've seen Game of Thrones. A happy moment, perhaps? I don't know. Imagine having this in your home. I wouldn't sleep. That's terrifying to look at. Number 5, the Mona Lisa. No way she's on this list. What is she up to? How can the Mona Lisa possibly be on this dark messages list? She's literally just She's chilling out, she's so calm. Another masterpiece from Da Vinci. Coming from the 15th century, there's already been, of course, hundreds of theories surrounding this painting. Like perhaps she could have been pregnant, given her stance with the hands doing the thing. And the veil over her shoulders, those were worn often by pregnant women during the Italian Renaissance. But back in 2011, a clue was found in the painting. Yeah, a clue, like we're national treasure all of a sudden. Silvano Vincetti supposedly found letters and numbers painted into her eyes. Teeny tiny microscopic numbers and letters. How fun is that? Yeah, I was at my desk earlier and my forehead was like touching my computer screen. I was like, really? Are you sure? I was looking, couldn't find anything. My eyes aren't that great. The L over her right eye stands for Leonardo, and in the other eye, there's a 72, the numbers 7 and 2. We believe so far this relates to Christianity and Judaism. 7, the creation of the world, and 2, the duality of men and women. Meanwhile, I'm over here drawing that really cool S. I think I nailed that, I'm not gonna lie. Number 4, The Ambassadors. This one got me, I'm not gonna lie, I got the creeps after this. The Ambassadors is a painting from 1533. I've seen this one before, as I'm sure you have at one point or another. Hans Hobient Youngers painted this lovely room with, scholars. There's a globe, a mandolin, to pass the time, help inspiration, that's why we get mandolins. We have one in the corner here at the studio. Chris whips it, often. But at the bottom, we see an anamorphic skull. It makes you want to cock your head around almost. It doesn't seem to fit in properly. Like the angle of the skull is wrong. It looks like whenever I try and use Photoshop, it's just something's off. Experts believe this was done intentionally to remind us that death is around the corner. So when I was looking at this, I was like, why is that doing that? And I'm like, oh, death is around the haunting. Next, number 3, The Old Guitarist. Any fans of Game of Thrones on here? Well, this next one gives off major White Walker vibes. The Old Guitarist is, well, exactly what you think. It's an old man, hunched over, white hair, playing a guitar. This would be creepy regardless, just on its own. But when Pablo Picasso was putting together this masterpiece back in the early 1900s, he had some tricks up his sleeve. At the end of the 1900s, in 1998, researchers used infrared on the painting. Again, National Treasure style for some reason. And this time, it wasn't a hidden message, it was a hidden woman. Yeah, another woman was painted underneath the elderly man. So because this paint is naturally fading now, she's becoming more and more clear to see. That is so deep. That's the most deep thing. Am I into art? Am I enjoying art? Am I researching? This is fun. I like this. Number 2, Netherlandish Proverbs. Back in 1559, Peter Bruegel the Elder, great name, created this oil painting, and we're still trying to unravel everything in here. In this painting, I mean, for one, it's massive. There's a lot going on. It's on display currently in the Gemälde Gallery in Berlin. It's got a lot going on, and when you really start to focus, you can see some weird going on in this painting. What is that guy doing? That guy's banging his head off the wall. Walter White's been throwing pizzas on the roof for some reason. That fish ate a bigger fish. This dude fell off an ox onto a donkey. What kind of heist was going on in this town? What is happening? Ah, I see. It's supposed to be horrible. Lovely. Proverbs were a hot topic back in the 1500s. Apparently, over 100 Dutch proverbs and idioms are seen in this painting. He also aimed to illustrate the stupidity of man, and given how much of a show this town looks like, I'd say Peter nailed it. And finally, number 1, the Arnolfini portrait. This one is the most impressive paintings on our list. I am a sucker for reflections. And for this one, we'll be looking at Jan van Eyck's painting from 1434. It's quite old, the oldest on our list. This is an oil painting titled the Arnolfini Portrait. It shows Giovanni da Niccolao Arnolfini, his wife, and a little doggo. In the background, that's where things get mysterious. There's a mirror, a painted mirror. It's been widely believed that Jan is in the painting themselves. We love an artist cameo, nice. I'm actually in that wall too. Believe it or not, you just can't see me yet. It hasn't been long enough. Also, written in Latin above the mirror, there's a message. A Latin message. Let's do it. The message reads, Jan van Eyck was here. 1434. That's got to be the oldest blank was here of all time. Even older than Brooks was here from Shawshank Redemption. That was pretty old. A message like that with the artist hidden in the painting, that gives me goosebumps all around. And I'm not really entirely sure why.